Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the 26th SF Indie Fest. The festival will be running from February 8th through 18th at the historic Roxy Theater in San Francisco, as well as online. Thank you so much to our filmmakers for joining us today. Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you and feel so lucky to have had shared your story.
I'm Jonathan Rowan. I'm the director of the movie.
Hi, I'm Robert Philipson. I'm the executive producer and writing of The Knowing, and I am based in Oakland. The story is autobiographical. I was involved in an interracial relation in the 80s, and my partner died of AIDS. We'd already split up by that time, but I was very involved in his care and communication towards the end of life, even though he was in Washington, D.C., and I had moved back to California by that time. Not everything in the film is true to life, but it was a traumatic experience, and it was one that I buried for like 30 years because I couldn't process it. And then it came roaring back when everybody started wearing masks for the pandemic.
I believe one of my former film school professors actually referred me to Robert and the team as a director. And when I took a look at the story, I knew it would be impactful. It was a period piece, something I had not previously done before, and also a queer narrative, which I feel like showcases much needed inclusion and diversity in our society of films and industry. And it was an important story that needed to be told, and also championing people who are dealing with HIV and AIDS. So it was very gripping. I wanted to bring my touch of what I do with my films and my dramas to this story and really let the viewer feel the impact of the emotion of the story, how it's told, and how these two characters are living and can't understand one another at the time and are trying to find closure in this heartbreaking time.
Robert and Jonathan, I would love to continue this theme of trust and collaboration. Robert, I'm going to start off with you. What was that process like, having such a personal narrative and bringing Jonathan into the fold? What were your conversations like, and how did you decide on that approach?
I will say, and I'm sure Jonathan will corroborate, that it was not easy. I produced other films, other documentaries, even other narrative shorts, and because it wasn't personal, I was able to let the film evolve through the production process in a way that was more difficult for me. With this one, Jonathan came to it from his own perspective, and we had some clashes. But one of the things that Jonathan brought to the film that I want to recognize is he put in Black love. There's a lot of Black love in that film. And it was there in real life as well, but I couldn't see it even 30 years later because I was still working through the experience that I had gone through. I didn't even see the racial dimensions as sharply as I did until Jonathan began working on the film. And that's just an invaluable contribution.
Well, thank you so much, Robert. And Jonathan, how was that process for you? I mean, obviously, it's such a responsibility, especially working with somebody who, this is their lived experience. And there's stories that maybe don't have kind of the same reality that they do now. There are, of course, a lot of pressures on the LGBTQIA communities. And I don't think that things have gotten easier, but I do think that there are huge differences in the way we navigate some of these issues, particularly now with the legalization of marriage and other things like that, and the treatment and care and understanding of HIV and AIDS. Can you speak to how you approach this and you respected Robert and his vision and his lived experience while also bringing in your own unique directorial voice?
Yes, it was a welcome challenge for me to do something of this magnitude, yet it being such a personal story, and also wanting to champion queer narratives and bring another queer narrative to life from a different standpoint that we don't really usually see. So I wanted to find the balance in the personal relation that Robert had to the story, and also what I saw from my vantage point as a Black person, and putting myself in the other character's position and knowing the dynamics of Black families. Like you mentioned today, you can be a little bit more free with your sexuality But back then, most queer people couldn't say how they felt. And then AIDS epidemic was so new, almost kind of like mirroring COVID a little bit, that it was shameful. People just put you aside and left you alone and isolate you even more. So to have those elements of racial divide with having a queer experience from a Black perspective that was totally negative, not accepted by anybody, not even his own family. I wanted to bring authenticity to the story and have the story a little bit more balanced from both perspectives, from Robert's personal perspective through that character and how he felt and how he dealt with everything, and also what had happened with the other side of the perspective and what is lying also in the middle. So I thought it was a fun challenge, and I wanted to just do it justice and make it as authentic as possible.